Welcome to the Tone Lounge Podcast, the definitive music industry and gear podcast with Jonathan Gilmet and Frank Fleckenstein.
What's up, guys? Good morning and welcome to the Tone Lounge Podcast. I'm your host, Frank, and with me today, as always, from the other side of the Atlantic, Edmonton, Canada, the Duke of Oxenton, Jonathan Gilmet. How are you at, what is it, like noon where you are?
Yeah, it's noon where I am. What I am is fed up of shoveling fucking snow.
Oh, really? Damn.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Okay.
It hit us like instantaneously, and
Yeah.
I've been shoveling snow like every 2 days or so. At first, I was like, it's not that big of a deal. Now it's like getting to be recurrent, and it's not my favorite thing to do. It's
Okay,
kind
I
of
see.
boring. Yep.
Not-
So yeah, back to Canada, so got to get used to it.
Yeah, here we had a funny thing going on where we had a few days where it was really cold. We had like 3 to 5 degrees Celsius, and then suddenly Sunday, poof, 16. Like what?
I'd love that. I would love that, but
Why the hell? So we have these weird jumps, and now it's going down again, and then it's supposed to go up again. So I'm really looking forward to a weird sort of winter coming on, if we can even call this winter. Well,
yeah.
we'll see. Before we get into the main topic of today, which we are going to reveal in just a few minutes, I'd like to talk about something that I came across shortly after last week's episode was released, which was last week on Thursday. And on Friday, I came across a post from Andy Ferris, one of our fellow YouTuber friends, who was kind of complaining about a new pedal that Behringer was just releasing the day before, or that very day, which would have been the Friday. And I think a lot of people might already know what we're talking about. And let me just...
Is it an original circuit?
Just take a...
Oh, come on. Are you... No. They didn't do that. That's impossible.
So, first of all, to me, if somebody releases a clone style pedal these days, I have no issues with that. There are so many of them out there. Bill Finnegan doesn't do them anymore, and there are people out there who are willing to pay thousands of dollars for an original.
Yep.
So in order for everybody else with regular incomes to be able to afford one, there are guys like Wampler and a handful of others who faithfully recreate what the original circuit is known to have inside. However, they are also like kind of picky and choosy about coming up with a name that's not too obvious, or maybe it's obvious, but it's at least there's some creativity behind that.
Yep.
If I look at that, I'm like, okay, so Behringer comes out with a clone style circuit in a smaller clone style enclosure with these like oxblood knob clone style knobs, and they're calling it the fucking Centaur. Really?
I mean, it's original. They called it Centaur Overdrive.
Yeah.
Let's play devil's advocate here. They didn't call it the Klon Centaur. They called it the Behringer Centaur Overdrive. So, I mean, there's a tiny bit of creativity here. Tiny bit.
Well, and again, Behringer kind of makes it happen. They're dividing guitar players all over the world into like two parties. One party is like, well, duh, awesome, a clone style pedal that looks like the original in a small package for $69. Take my money. And then there's the other party who is more like, how can you do that? How can you be so like blatantly ripping off the pedal and then also have the audacity to call it the Centaur, which is essentially the original name. So, and I think we also have to look at the fact that Behringer as a brand has a very different standing in different parts of the world. And last time I checked, especially if we look at the US, there is a very open mentality about Behringer. People in the US, and I'm not sure about Canada, you might know more about that, they see it like, okay, this is sort of a like value brand. They still connected with Behringer being a German company because, it's a German guy who founded it, and, they still say German engineering, but it's made in China, obviously, in Behringer City. And they're like, and they're bringing us all these cool products, which are like the originals, and for like a way cooler price. So, let's go for it. In Europe, it's a bit more divided. There are people who are like, if the product's good and it works for me, I'm probably going to buy it. I don't care if it says Behringer or not. And then there are other people who are like, leave me alone. I'm only going to put stuff in there that is, as robust as it can be, which some Behringer products have not proven to be. So, what's it like in Canada?
I think it is divided pretty much everywhere. Like, we're aware that Behringer is more of a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a company that is trying to produce some good quality stuff at really cheap prices and make it available for everyone. So I think for that demographic, they're doing very well. The thing that no one really says out loud, but whenever you talk to musicians here in Canada, it's how audacious they are. Like, they will completely copy someone else's design, throw it in there with much cheaper parts. I'm thinking of like something like the Behringer Super Fuzz, like the SF300. You stack that up against the Boss version, there's almost no difference between the both of them. It's tiny, it's minute, but it's a great pedal. Shitty enclosure, but it's a great pedal. So Behringer does make some stuff that I think is reliable for gigging musician. And the quality is not like out the door. Like, it's not garbage. They're still making something that people can play and can still enjoy, even sonically speaking. The problem is that whenever we talk here in Canada, a lot of guys are like thinking Behringer is the shit I put on my board whenever I'm playing gigs, and I'm keeping the really, really nice pedals at home. Oh, so let's say, for example...
Interesting.
So, yeah. If we were to use something like that Centaur, let's say you have some dude here in Canada that has a original Klon. He wants that sound, doesn't want to take out the pedal. Let's say this thing does kind of like with the SF300. It sounds almost identical. You can't really tell the sonic difference. Maybe they're going to lean towards that just for the aesthetic of it and the fact that it kind of sounds like their original pedal. That, for me, is kind of like what I'm seeing here in Canada with fellow musicians, is that some people are seeing Behringer as a company that you can like pretty much clone whatever you already have that's valuable and just take that stuff out to play your local gig. But you have the two opposites where you got the people that will only play cheap stuff, and you got the people that are completely outraged and say, how dare they? They copied the enclosure, they copied everything, like just about everything. Can't they at least, put an effort into doing something different?
And just to ramp it up, I was just reading through the product features, and so essentially, they are obviously using the original circuit, like the original schematic for that circuit. They say it's all analog with germanium diodes for soft transitional clipping. Now the question is, what kind of germanium diodes would that be? Probably some old Russian ones, because it's very, very difficult to get like original clone Sandauer, or the diodes that they were using back then. Those are like super rare, and they're selling you a lot of fake shit on eBay and whatnot. Stepped up internal voltage. Yeah, that's what the original does. It takes a 9-volt input and then has a charge pump on the inside to bring the board voltage up to 18. More headroom, more dynamics. Treble control, yeah, just like on the original. Discrete buffered true bypass. Buffered true bypass. That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
You either have a buffered bypass or you have a true bypass.
Or maybe they have a switchable option between both.
It doesn't say. And that would, I mean, that would be cool. I've seen pedals, like clone style pedals, do that, where you can switch between true and buffered, depending on, whatever makes more sense for you or whatever the setup needs. But you can't have two things at the same time. And it doesn't say it's switchable. Robust housing with authentic vintage styling. Yeah, we can see that it's authentic. So this, for the price of, so I saw that Thomann sells it for 69 euros. This, for 69 euros, only works if you produce it in masses. But like masses, we're talking about thousands of units that you need to produce, because this enclosure is like a molded aluminum enclosure, which you have to mold, and then you have to produce it. All the rest, I would say, is like that's easy. You can Behringer probably can do like their own printed circuit boards. That's not an issue. And everybody else, everything else is fine. But to offer this whole thing for like 69 euros, damn it.
Yep. One last word on this. There's something that I don't think we say enough, but Behringer gets away with a lot of stuff that smaller brands could never get away with.
They're super hated in the synthesizer community because of some of the synths they make that look exactly like an old Roland or an old Moog or something like that. So people in the synth community hate Behringer to death. Like they let's see if we can find something like that. Product categories. What do we have? DJ, studio. Synthesizers. Yeah, they have all this like Eurosynth, Eurorack stuff in there. There. Yeah. 2600 ARP, like direct copy of one. And then like with different faces. What else? Okay, this is all the Eurorack stuff. Let's see. That looks awfully lot like something I've seen before. Crave. Yeah. I guess people in the synth community know more about this, but there's some stuff out there that they do that is like so just a visual ripoff, like this one, the Poly D, the Poly D.
Yeah,
it's like what?
Yeah, that looks like a Moog. Got that kind of look to it with the wooden panel and the whole thing.
Exactly.
Like I don't know anything about. Yeah, I don't know anything about keyboards. The only ones I've played were like a Korg Triton and a Roland Phantom. Those are like the two I'm more aware of. I don't know if they do copy of those. I'm sure people must be pissed because those are like, well, at least at the time they were expensive. I haven't really kept up with any of the new stuff that came out from those companies, but yeah. It's something they do. They can copy the look, they can copy the sound, and they offer it at a fraction of the price, which I mean is great for musicians that are broke, But for companies who are like trying to keep a certain aesthetic, a certain branding,
Yes.
that's got to suck because they don't have the reach, they don't have the power to do anything about it, right?
Exactly. There's nothing you can do. Anyways, I just found it to be very interesting. But speaking about our main topic, we kind of introduced what we're going to talk about this week in the last episode. And we're going to talk about YouTube. And we are going to talk about, like in specific, we're going to talk about YouTubers, guitar gear YouTubers. And to kind of like set the tone for what we're about to discuss, we have to look at how companies make marketing these days when they have a product launch, or in general, if they want to stay relevant with their products, or with if the brand wants to stay relevant. There has been a trend that has not completely faded away, but it kind of, it's not that present anymore. And I think the first time I really saw it and recognized it was when your fellow Canadians, Rev Amps, they released a new amplifier, a new version of the generator, and they asked me if I would want to, create a video for launch day. I'm like, yeah, sure, send it over. So, and it was me, it was Henning Pauli, it was a couple of others, and for me back then, it was just, that my channel was really small, so I didn't get paid. But for me, obviously, and because they were putting marketing money into this, it was like good exposure to grow the channel. So, and then at launch day, it was me and it was like 10 others, and everybody launched their video at the same time. They also did that with a pedal, where I think I actually was involved as well. Same thing. So that was the first time that I saw this sort of practice where they like coordinated the launch of a new product and spoke to 10 different demographics, maybe some of them are like, crossing each other. That's possible, obviously, because we're talking about guitar YouTubers. There are not too many of them out there, although it seems like today there are a lot.
Yeah.
But that was a trend that I saw back then happening. We still see that sort of trend.
Yep.
But it's not as, I don't think it's that heavy. I think the companies, they're now a little bit more selective about the channels they're using for that kind of marketing. They mostly aim for the bigger channels these days. And then again, it also depends on the company. So there's one way to make marketing. Then there's another way for companies who do not release that many new products, but they want to stay relevant, which is working with artists. I see Positive Grid doing that a lot. And they always have been. Even in a time when I was still there, they would work with artists to stay relevant. They would, use the same product for an extended amount of time, but give it to different artists. And then, get like artist presets and artist tones and whatnot, all that kind of stuff. That's a way, and depending on the popularity of the artist, it would have a big effect on sales. It would have a big effect on like people were talking about the brand. Now, that to kind of set the tone, but what I've heard recently in conversations and what I've seen with my own eyes from messages that were shown to me, the pricing of some of those YouTubers to me starts at, wow, that's heavy, and goes up to, okay, that's just ridiculous. And I want to talk about that, especially considering that the industry is currently at a crisis where, everybody's struggling, but people who don't have a lot of marketing budget at their disposal struggle even more because, they have a harder time to get the word out, to stay relevant, to keep the brand in everybody's face.
If you don't mind, what I would like to do is kind of present this as two different faces. So we're going to have the companies and we're going to have the YouTubers. So that way we don't like demonize one group more than the other. It's more of a, to just set the tone. I don't think anyone is wrong. I just think that there's not enough communication between the YouTubers and the companies as to what is going on, because I think both on both end are struggling. So if let's say we start with the YouTubers, okay? You were a YouTuber for a long time. You still have a channel. You still have videos up there, but you're also the exception where you went from doing YouTube to actually having your own company and building your own pedals. So that gives you a very different position than mine, where I don't build anything. I have no experience running a business.
Okay.
But I'm gonna lay down some of the factors that kind of help set the tone for why people would start a YouTube channel to begin with. Perhaps you're going to have some more experience you can share, and then we can look at the company because you have more experience in that department. And then we look at the both factors. We're going to look at the YouTuber and what they're asking, and the companies and what they're asking, and see if we can find a solution for both, because the point is not to just point fingers, but we're trying to make this podcast so that we can help these two different groups get together and work cohesively and work in a way that benefits both. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes sense, and I'm totally on board with that.
Okay. So to begin with, for YouTube, anyone that doesn't know, it requires a lot of skill sets. And if you don't have them from the get-go, you're going to have to develop them. It is hard. You have to learn new things while you still have a family life. You have your work, you have your friends, you have social activities, so on and so forth. So what are these skills? We're talking about, one, obviously be a guitar player. Two, be interested in gear and always keep up with all the latest trends, all the new releases, know some of the history behind it. So that means you have to be someone who consumes YouTube as well and has to go out and do the legwork and find information on companies, what they're releasing, why that product might be new, like completely new, there's nothing else like it, or it might just be like some other washed up copy of something that's been around for 50, 60 years. So that's one aspect of it. Second, you have to learn to speak on camera. That sucks. Not everybody can do it. So communication skills, if you don't have it, you have to develop it. You also have to be a filmmaker, so you have to be able to set up the lighting, have your camera in focus. You have to be able to do audio. So that means not just the microphone recording you, but also record your own guitar and get some good sounds out of it, or at least, something that's passable. You have to be able to do thumbnails. You have to learn about, just all the information you're going to put into your video once you upload it. So that means if you don't know anything about analytics, you might be making videos for a long time where people drop out of your video after 30 seconds. Happens to everybody. But if you have like fatal flaws and you can't go into your analytics and really pinpoint what you're doing wrong and learn from it, you might be making 200, 300, maybe 400 videos before you start to catch on how to make videos. Now, the other part to this, so now you have to be able to be the person who researches the topic. You have to be able to play on camera. You have to be able to talk on camera. You have to do all the audio, the editing, all that stuff. Then you have to build an audience. That can take years and hundreds of videos. And while you're doing this, you're not making any money because YouTube has some very specific requirements to make money. So if you contact a company, you say, hey, you know what? I have 200 subscribers. I have 300 videos. Would you like to work with me? Odds are they will not even respond to you. You have nothing to offer yet. So it takes years and years of self-doubt, crippling fear on camera, all this bullshit that you're going through just to build somewhat of an audience. For example, I've been at this for 6 years. I have close to 600 videos. I have 11,000 subscribers. My channel is still considered super small. that's discouraging to someone that has 2,000 subscribers. They go, this guy's got 11 and he's still considered small. Yes. And the thing is that if you don't have the right sales pitch when you talk to a company and say, hey, here's my idea for a video. I want to do this with your pedal. Does that seem interesting to you? You might not get the pedal. And that's the other part we have to talk about. You don't get the pedal for free. The company expects you to make a video.
Yes.
You make a video with your own camera, your own microphones that you paid for, your own lighting, your own gear. So your pedals, everything else you're going to use, the amps, so the guitars, all that stuff. Now the company is sending you, let's say, $150 pedal. Yes. You make a 20-minute long video. Correct. Nobody's ever heard of this brand before. So you put out this video, maybe you get 100 views. The company looks at it, says, I'm not seeing any sales from this pedal demo, so I don't want to work with this YouTuber anymore. So there's a lot of hoping the videos pan out. The company thinks that you as a YouTuber are going to work miracles because you have a lot of subscribers, or maybe they hope that you have a lot of views. So the YouTuber in all this is just getting the pedals as payment for the videos.
Yes.
We do not buy groceries with pedals. We can't pay bills with pedals. So that means eventually, if you can't keep all of it, you have to sell those pedals. And then some companies out there, if you sell the pedals and they go, hey, do you want to make a video with this new pedal I have and you can use my other pedals? And you say, sorry, I don't have the other pedals. I sold them. They're pissed. They don't want to work with you anymore because they saw it as they were giving you something. It was a gift.
Okay, but let me hook in that line. Don't forget what you wanted to say, but here's one thing that I think is absolutely to me is absolutely fair and square. So I remember we once had Andy Ferris on the podcast, and when we were talking about YouTube fees and what YouTubers are getting paid for by the companies, then he said, and he has quite some reach. He has more than 100,000 subscribers, and probably more by now. The podcast episode is some time ago. But he said, they're not paying for my reach. They're paying for my time. I'm paid to do a job. And that's all. And that's totally fine, and especially if you can deliver a certain quality because you have a good setup, your videos are all high resolution, 4K, the sound is good, and you're able to make your videos entertaining enough for the people to actually, stay on the video for an extended amount of time instead of like dropping out. Then if you say my video fee, my fee for making a video is I keep the item. Sometimes that's possible. Sometimes it's not possible. I think with an item like a pedal or something, that is more likely to be possible because like it's a smaller, more inexpensive item in most cases.
Yep.
But then again, if we're talking about like high-end guitars, that might not be possible. But there's also like, hey, my video fee is, let's say, 400 euros. You'll get a proper video from me, properly produced, for 400 euros. And I thought, okay, that's a valid argument. Now, your example where you're saying like you're keeping the pedal, and you can't keep them all. And I did the same. I did the same thing. Whenever I received a product, I actually kept it for a while because I kept using it in a couple of other videos. But then once a year, I was looking at like, okay, I have so many things that I actually don't use, so they have to go. And I sold them, and I saw that as the payment for the hours I put in editing and preparing the video and scripting out the video. So I think that is totally fair. And if any brand kind of complains that after 1 year or 1.5 or 2 years, you still didn't hold on to the pedal, I don't know. It's kind of
But it does happen, and I am in 100% agreement with you that at a certain point, the pedals are not what is going to pay your bills, and you have to keep in mind too that most YouTubers have a day job, and they're doing YouTube constantly on a regular basis.
Yes.
While they might have a kid at home, they might have a significant other. You know, they got obligations like everybody else.
Yes.
So now the perspective I'm trying to give is that the beginnings are really rough and they stay rough for a long time. You're very fortunate if the company says you can keep the pedal in exchange for a video. And you're like, cool, if I can use that pedal again and again, or if I fall in love with the pedal and I just want to keep it for myself, I worked for it.
Yes.
In a sense, I paid for the pedal. But now imagine that, I don't know, you have 15 million views on your channel, you have 250,000 subscribers, you're a big deal now in the guitar community. Now you don't really want to keep the pedals. You're like, you don't really give a crap because you got all your dream gear. You make money now. You can live off of YouTube and you live well. You worked your ass off to get to that point. Now the company reaches out to you, says, hey, now you're a big deal and we want you to make a demo. And the person says, well, okay, yeah, but you know, I got 15 other companies right now that are paying me and I'm backlogged for like 6 months. When do you want this out? Oh, we want this out next week. Sorry, you can't do it. Oh, you can't bump me up? No, I got paying customers now. I can't like just do this in exchange for a pedal. Yeah. Okay, what if I pay you $500? Now you might say yes to $500, but maybe the other guys are paying you more. So you could say yes to this person and do the review or the demo much later down the line. So there's a supply and demand thing that happens with the bigger YouTubers that doesn't happen with a schmuck like me. People don't line up to send me pedals. I still have to physically come up with an email that I have to write. I have to come up with the idea for a video and pitch it to the company and see if they're interested. And sometimes, and this has happened to me lately, companies I've been working with for years don't even bother replying. So I'm like, okay, I now I'm left wondering, did I do something wrong? Did I fuck up on the last video? And then I go in my analytics. I'm like, no, the last video I did for them worked really fucking well. So why aren't they answering? Sometimes it's just a change in the employees. The guy you were talking to doesn't work there anymore. Is now with another company.
Possible.
Okay. So there's a bunch of stuff. So the groundworks I was trying to give you here is that most YouTubers, they are not rolling in the dough. They're not rich. They don't have all that YouTube money to buy themselves a yacht. Most of them are broadcast musicians who buy the majority of their gear. I still buy pedals and I'll do videos on those, and I paid full price for them. Sometimes I get pedals in exchange for video. I'm not rich. I'm broke as fuck. And I'm just very irresponsible. A lot of the gear I have behind me is shit I traded for. So I didn't buy these brand new with all my YouTube money. So this, is just a case of most YouTubers are broadcast musicians. And then when they start to build a full-time job out of it, they want to get paid. Now that brings us to companies. Now companies are kind of like YouTubers. You got the really small ones that are still trying to make it, and they're doing so by the skin of their teeth. And you got the really big guys on top who have all this marketing money. They have a marketing team working for them. So you have a disparity between these two because there's the small guys who they know how to build pedals, but they don't really know how to market them. And they're hoping that YouTubers are going to be the thing for them that gives them the exposure. So the more YouTubers play their shit, the more people know about them. A lot of these companies don't have time to learn to film themselves. Some of them are not great players. Some are, but some are not. They don't have the lighting. They don't have the camera. They don't have the reach. They don't have time to learn either Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. So they rely on people that are already doing this and have success. So they're sending it out to them. If you take a company like Boss, they don't really need the YouTubers. But if they do, they're going to pick the big ones. They're going to pick the ones that really fit what they need. If I were to have a company where I was building pedals, I probably couldn't afford Andy Ferris. I probably couldn't afford Ola Englund or Pete Thorne. I would be going to smaller channels, hoping that it works. So there's similarities between the musicians and the people making gear for the musicians. Now, you have a very interesting take on what it's like to be on both sides. When you as a company are dealing with YouTubers, what is your reality as a smaller company?
Very simple. And I think I speak for a lot of guys who run a company with either one or two people, and that includes myself or the person who runs the company, and maybe sometimes they have additional help from a friend, or they actually have a part-time employee. The reality is, if I wanted to spread the word about a new pedal that I'm releasing, I am heavily relying on YouTubers that are in the, let's call them lower tier, without offending anyone, but that are, in the reality of, can you make a video? You can keep the pedal. For a company with my profile, that's ideal. And that even applies to a couple of companies who already have a bigger name. There are some companies who actually have, distribution in some areas, but still, their marketing budget is not very big. So, in order to, and on one hand, you would like to achieve a certain quality as well, so you're looking for YouTubers who definitely have a good sense for, the visual aspect, but they play well and they present well. And one thing we haven't talked about yet, and I think we can add that to the list of the things that you said that things that you have to do and be able to do as a YouTuber. To some extent, you also have to be a salesman, because you're selling that product on behalf of the company to your audience, or even beyond your audience, because people that are like not subscribed, and that's the reality these days. Most people who are going to watch a video are not subscribers. You can see it over and over. Every other channel is going to have like a little speech in between their videos, like, hey, consider subscribing because my statistics show that, blah blah blah. So happens a lot. So I'm relying on that heavily. If I think the most I've paid for a video was like $200. But now we can kind of come back to what did I get in return? I can clearly say that for most of the YouTubers I worked with, orders did not, just swamp in to my system. So in other words, none of the videos that were made, there were a few exceptions, obviously, but most of the videos that were made did not result in orders coming in or sales happening, which is what you want. You want a return on your investment. In my case, or in the case of a company with the profile of, FFX pedals or a couple of others that I could mention, I'm going to send you a pedal, make a video, and you hope for, the video creates 5 to 6 orders, because this way, you kind of get something out of your investment. Or if you pay someone $200 for a video, and he gets to keep the pedal, then it's like, great. If this guy who has and you obviously pay the $200 because this person already has a larger, subscriber base. So you obviously hope for more for more orders coming in, and you hope for a larger return on your investment. And in most cases, at least for me, that didn't happen. And I know a lot of other guys where it didn't happen for them. It didn't work out for them, and they still had to, come up with other ways to create sales, either through, reaching out to distributors, and have people distributing their products into other territories, where they cannot reach, and where sometimes people even haven't heard of this stuff,
Yep.
Or they work with artists, and some artist, is on tour somewhere, and people are like, oh, what's that pedal he's playing there? That's interesting. Oh, that's a XYZ from, France or Spain or whatever. It's like, oh, never heard of that company. And so, this sometimes gets the ball rolling. In my case, I was fortunate that somehow I triggered Danish Pete to check out one of my pedals. He really liked it. He proposed it to the Andertons team, and then Andertons placed an order. And they made 1 or 2 videos with the pedals, and they were a very good customer of mine for quite some time, like a year and a half. They were like ordering new pedals, so it was good. But then again, at some point you come into the situation where you're not able to keep up with everybody else, where like every 2 months this company has another release, there's a new pedal. And me with a day job and like doing pedals on the side and also having a family, I'm not able, I was barely able to keep up with, orders and keeping some kind of stock, like steady stock, in order to not, miss certain delivery times and whatnot when there were orders coming in. So I'm not able to like, okay, let's work on a new design, and release that in 2 months, where other companies have people who, are in production, they produce the pedals, and they have like 2 guys who are like, okay, what can we do next?
Yeah.
So that's...
Yeah, what you're highlighting is exactly the problem that most of the companies I've worked with over time are facing. It's this idea that the marketing is, I wouldn't say an afterthought, but it's not something that they have established before they build the pedal. So oftentimes they're going to start with building a pedal and the hope that people are going to be like really happy with this new pedal that they're coming out with, and they're all going to, throw themselves at it and buy it. The problem is that sometimes when a company is small, their reach might not be the same as, say, someone like Wampler or JHS. They have an incredible reach, and they even have like really big YouTube channels also. If you think of JHS, everything they've been doing, I mean, they're pumping out content all the time, and that for them really works. It's their marketing. You just mentioned Andertons. Same thing. I mean, we're talking about a music store who's creating some really great content on YouTube, and they're showcasing what all these different companies can do. They were doing that for your company. They've done it for Schnobel Tone. They've done it for a bunch of people. And they make really long format videos that's really informative, really gives you a sense of what the product can do. They have the reach. And on top of that, they can sell you the pedal. That really helps. That's a different thing than, let's say, my channel or your channel or anyone else who's trying to make a career out of YouTube. So the one aspect that you talked about is you have someone that you contact or they contact you. You end up talking about price, let's say $200. You send them the pedal. Are you guaranteed that they're going to make the video? And if they don't, what are your recourses as a company?
I've had instances where I sent out pedals and nothing ever happened, and people were like, "Yeah, I was trying to do it, but then this and that," and so at some point also I stopped. I was like, okay, this is not, apparently that's not the way for me. Then I tried, doing the content myself, and especially stuff on Instagram and shorts on YouTube. But obviously my reach as a company was way too small. So that's difficult. And then the other thing, because I kind of want to roll back a little bit to the financial part of things. I recently spoke to a contact in the industry that we both know. I'm not going to name him because I'm not going to call him out on something he told me. What he had heard and what he had experienced. So we mentioned earlier that, like, Andy Ferris. I'm not sure what Andy Ferris actually charges, but let's say, for the sake of this argument, let's say Andy Ferris charges $400. Then I know that, what was it? Henning Pauly, I think he charges like $1,200 for a video. I'm not sure. It also seems to depend on the length of the video. Henning, if you listen to this, you're free to correct me. But I think the last time I heard was like $1,200 for a video. 1,200 euros for a video is a lot of money. And I know that we, when we tell Henning, hey, 1,200 euros or $1,200 for a video is a lot of money, he's going to tell me, or he's going to tell us, but my quality, and I have, the best cameras, I have to, and so on and so forth. So if you want quality, that's my second name. Fine. Doesn't guarantee that the company afterwards is going to sell themselves like crazy. Doesn't mean that, their stuff is going to sell. There's a good chance that people are going to know about it, and people are going to be like, oh, the video looks awesome, sharp images and whatnot. So this person, this industry contact told me that he has now talked to a couple of guys who also have like more subscribers and whatnot, and they charge up to 2,500 euro for a video. Where it's like, insane. Where it's like, okay, let's say you have 200, 300, 400, 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, and you feel like that alone justifies that I'm going to charge you 2,500 euros for a video. If you try to put yourself in the shoes of the other person, do you know how many pedals a company with my profile, or that person is in a similar profile, bit bigger, but do you know how many pedals I have to sell to essentially earn, like in my pocket, earn 2,500 euros? It's a lot. And then on the other hand, there's no guarantee, even with a guy who has like 500,000 subscribers, there's no guarantee that this is going to result in hundreds of orders coming back as my ROI. Yep. There's no guarantee. And as long as as that's the case, as there's no guarantee. I remember that when we had Henning on the podcast, I told him the same thing. It's like, your channel might be as big as it is, and your quality might be like top notch, best YouTube gear video quality ever existed. It doesn't mean you're going to convert to sales. And then he kind of said, well, no, I have the numbers. I know that we converted sales. I'm like, yeah, I don't buy it. I'm sorry. It's like,
my position on this is, let's say, for example, Henning is charging X amount and companies are willing to pay for that. There's no issue. If a company cannot afford it, still no issue. I mean, it's a free market. People can either pay it or don't pay it.
Yes.
If Henning feels like this is worthy of his time and the quality that he puts out, he's allowed to charge what he wants.
100%.
I think
100%.
Yeah, I think where you and I kind of agree on what is going on with this particular situation is when we're talking about really small companies that can't afford to pay. Let's say FFX pedals, or pick any other company that is smaller. This is a sideline for them. They would love to see it grow into something, but right now they can't afford it. I think this brings us to kind of like finding solutions so that we can get YouTubers to maybe change their mindset and get companies to change their approach and mindset and expectations with YouTube. So right now we kind of underline that the companies that are small are struggling. YouTubers have to work their ass off to get the visibility, to get the notoriety, to get companies to trust them. Because as you just stated, a company can send you a pedal and you can fuck them over and never do the pedal demo. And all you're doing is burning your own bridges. But at the same time, hey, free pedal, right? So for someone who's working at this all the fucking time, they're doing this seriously, they're taking it seriously. Now they've got a bigger audience, they got more reach, but they're still dealing with the smaller pedal companies. And you start to tell them, I'm charging $2,500. Are you being reasonable? Is there maybe some other way you can help each other out? Create like this ecosystem where all of you can thrive and eventually start to make more money. But if we're realistic about what's going on in the world, people are buying less gear. People are buying more cheap stuff because the expensive stuff is getting really, really expensive. So is there a way for the YouTubers to work with the companies and help each other and keep everyone afloat? I have a few ideas. I'm sure you have your own. Yeah. I'll let you start first as to what you think might be a good approach.
I think right now that you were talking about, like helping smaller companies, I was thinking about the model of cheap flight tickets. Because how cheap flight is not like you sell out the plane with cheap flight tickets. No, there are people who pay for premium seats, to be in the business class and getting all the extras. There are people who are paying significantly more in order for the airline to be able to sell the other seats at a cheaper price. That's how it works. And I know at first, in the first moment, it sounds ridiculous to apply that to, the price structure of a YouTuber. But to be honest, if I'm a guy who has like a shit ton of subscribers and I feel like I'm in the position to charge 2,000 euros a video, and people are able to pay, or companies are able to pay it. The companies who are able to pay it have a very high marketing budget. We're talking about the big guys here. The big guys that say 2,000 euros for a video. Do you know what we paid in print ads back then? No comparison.
No.
So, and the more of the bigger companies are able and willing to pay $2,000 for a video to that guy, the more he should be able to say, okay, I'm charging you guys this because, you can afford it. And then I'm charging significantly less for the smaller guys. And then on the long run, because the small company there's no guarantee, but there's a possibility that the small company benefits from your reach and from your subscriber base. And there are people among it who are like, yeah, I'm going to buy it. That this company grows. And at some point, they're big enough to pay you. There should be a system. I think that's what I would do. There should be a system of like tiers. You have the top tier brands with big marketing departments, or like not, but bigger marketing budgets. And they're like, okay, you're a Fender, you're paying 2K for a video. End of story. You are, I don't know, a smaller company somewhere in the middle. You pay $800 for a video. You're a small pedal company. Send me the pedal. Send me $100, for my time editing, and we're square.
Yeah,
that's how I think. That's how I think I would do it. But then again, it's not the reality.
Well, it might be. There might be some YouTubers out there, because I would love to invite some bigger YouTubers to the podcast so that we can have this type of discussion and see what their approach is. But I love the concept of, if you have the portfolio, you own so many companies and you make all this money. We know that for you, this is advertising money, and you can send me $2,000 and I can do a great video. No problem. But if you're a small company where there's maybe 1 or 2 people working there, maybe I do it for free, but I do it when I have, a bigger gap in my schedule. So I can't promise I'm going to do that next week.
One thing before you continue, because I know the person's going to piss if I'm not mentioning that. This once happened to me. There was a guy who usually charges a high amount, and he said, you're small, you're starting, we're good buddies. For you, I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep the pedals, So there are instances where this can work, where you have people that can make an exception. And I guess with this guy, I had the same sort of agreements. Like, I can't do it tomorrow. I need some time because I need to fit it in my schedule between the other guys who are actually paying. So just wanted to mention this because I know that person's going to call me out.
Well, I'm sure there are some YouTubers that do that, but we're offering this as a solution for the people that are like well established.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a possibility, and I'm sure that there's way more people that are doing that than we know. But we also have to consider now the smaller to more like medium-sized channels. So we're talking like anyone that has like 1,000 subscribers to maybe a channel that has maybe like 50,000 subscribers.
Yes.
One of the approach that we could take, I think, that would probably help the companies is to see what they need. So if you write to a company and you just say, hey, can you send me a pedal? I'm just going to do a video. And the company's like, yep, I'm going to trust you to make any video. And then you send out the pedal. You don't know what their intentions are. You don't know if the format they're going to be using is something you already have on YouTube. Yeah. So maybe you want something different, right? So maybe that's a great opportunity for companies to say, look, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I can tell you what my needs are. I have this pedal here. It's not a great seller. I'm hoping that people are going to understand the vision and what this is capable of doing. And maybe if you could go through and show people the potential of this pedal, that might bump up sales. So if the person gets the pedal and they kind of do a tutorial or they make a fun video around a topic, let's say it's a phaser, and this is a very special phaser that company makes, and the guy does like the top 10 phaser sounds of the 1970s or whatever, and comes up with a really cool idea for the video, and it goes viral for that channel, and people are like, holy shit, this pedal's really cool. So now the YouTuber helped you in the marketing approach to showcasing what your pedal can do. So I think if we can start doing that, just talk about the needs as opposed to a company saying, this is the video you're going to make and you're going to shut up. This is all we want from you. YouTubers are not going to go for that. They want creativity. So by talking about your needs, you can make a demo that helps the company. Maybe that converts to sales, or maybe that converts to, hey, I didn't know that pedal could do that. This is a really cool tutorial. And maybe I know someone that needs that pedal. I'm going to refer them back to your video. So the approach to the marketing might be rethought on the part of YouTubers, and companies should probably be clearer on what they need from a video, as opposed to just do whatever the hell you want. Let's hope it converts to sales. If the company says, I need you to showcase these things, if you can put that in the video, that would be great. You do your thing, but if you can highlight these things so that people understand that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's, but I think when we're talking about like companies with the proper marketing department, I think these guys, they have a very clear sort of concept of what they want to be transported in the video. So
Yeah.
they are still, because we know how some of these YouTubers are, they are going to be, and that's something that the business contact told me as well. He said, there was this guy who said 2,000 euros for a video, and I didn't have any say in what the video is going to be. And he also said he wanted to have the freedom to like dislike things and like call them out, like things that he didn't like. And while that is something that, and then we talked about that several times, what the difference is between a review and a demo. If I'm paying somebody 2,000 euros for a video, then I expect a demo, and I expect that the person highlights, everything that's great about the product, because that's what I'm paying for. I'm paying for marketing here. And that's that. And I don't want the person to say, they could have, they should have, I think the pedal is too noisy, or this guitar is too that. Or it's like, that's not what I'm paying for. If I pay 2,000 euros to someone, $2,000, whatever currency, then I expect that, it's gonna be great. It's gonna turn out great. Now, a review, if I'm paying for a review, that I would think that I'm going to pay significantly less, and then I'm going to have to live with the fact that, I'm paying this guy, but not $2,000. I'm paying this guy, and he's also going to tell me what he doesn't like about the product, and I have to live with that, and hope that, his subscriber base is, abstract enough to make up their own minds.
I like the fact that you're really making that distinction between the demonstration and the review, because a lot of people conflate those two. They really think they're the same thing, and I can guarantee they are not the same thing.
No, they're not.
So on my
100%.
channel, these are just my values as a person. I review stuff I buy, because that gives me free reign to say whatever the hell I want. Okay, I really highlight the positive and the negatives. I try to keep it balanced, and I get so much flack for this because people are pissed off. I reviewed 2 Harley Benton guitars, a Harley Benton amp, some Harley Benton pedals. I didn't want them in exchange for video. I just wanted to really get the perspective of, I'm a guitar player who bought this with my money. What am I getting?
Yeah.
Now, the difference between that and a demo is a company looking for marketing. I'm not telling you it's good. I'm not telling you it's bad. And if the pedal is shit, you will know, because I've built in a protocol where I turn all the fucking knobs up all the way. So if the pedal is noisy, you'll know. If the frequencies that it generates are ear piercing, you will know, because I'm not there to influence your purchase. I'm showing you what the pedal does. So I've built in a protocol where I can show you the flaws and the pros of a pedal within the demonstration. That's why most of my demos, people are going to say, oh my God, dude, this pedal is awful. Or people are going to say, this pedal is amazing. But I didn't tell them I liked it. I didn't say shit about it. I didn't give you my opinion, because the purpose was to demonstrate what it can and cannot do. And if you build that into your content, people are going to be way more informed about the demonstration. When you do a review, you influence the person, because now you're giving them your opinion. So if you say, I bought this, it's fucking amazing, some people are going to be like, holy shit, he thinks it's amazing, I might buy it. Or if you say, this is the biggest turd I've ever fucking played with, sales might go down if you have the reach. Now that we've distinguished those two things, there are some YouTubers who see reviews and demos as being the same thing, and that they should give their opinion, and you should be paid to give your opinion. And I think if you're being paid to give your opinion, that's fine if that's your business model. It's not mine. It doesn't mean I'm holier than thou. It doesn't mean I'm better than them. It's just, it's not something I want. Like if I'm contacting you saying, hey, can you send your pedal over? And the pedal is a fucking turd. I'm going to write back to you, say, hey, look, I'm having these issues. Is this normal? And if you say, no, that's not normal, I'll send it back to you. Then you send me another one. And then if everything is okay, I'll make the video. But if it's still a turd, I'll write to you and I'll say, I really can't make a video with this. I really can't. It happened to me once. One time. The guy was super pissed off that I told him the pedal wasn't good, but at least I didn't drag him through the mud by making a video and just embarrassing him with it.
Yeah.
So if anyone ever says, hey, you seem to like all the pedals that you demo on your channel. Yeah, it's because I select the ones that I know are worthy of your time. If they're not, I'm not going to make a fucking video of it. It makes sense. You're not going to say, oh, this pedal's amazing when it's clearly not. It's noisy. It doesn't work properly. And no one understands what the point of the fucking product is. Why make a video on it? Just tell the company, look, I just can't see me working with this pedal. You have anything else? Send me something else. I'll pay. I'll send it back to you. No problem. Yeah. But I can't make a video on this.
Yeah. The other thing, this guy told me. So he went to Guitar Summit this year because he goes there like for 3 years now, and apparently, and we still haven't found out what they actually did this year to attract that many YouTubers, and to have more coverage of the event. And also I've talked to someone from the organizing committee. A buddy of mine is in like one of the guys in the team that organizes the event. And I asked him, it's like, hey, would one of you guys be interested to be on the podcast? We would like to talk about the event, how it started, how it developed over the years, what the challenges were and everything. And he replied to me that, he can ask, but he doesn't think that that's something they would do. So we'll probably never know, which is fine. I'm not blaming them if they don't want to. That's okay. But so this guy who went there told me that he had a lot of YouTubers come to his booth and talk about, hey, I could do a video, but they would immediately be like, and I'm going to charge you this.
No, that is, okay, I'm just going to say, that is fucking stupid. It's a free event. You got your camera in your hands. You film content. You make free content. You go back home and you shut up. You don't try to be like, hey, I'm going to film you, but in exchange, you got to pay me. That's more like extortion. That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. It's a free event. Yeah, you went there to see them.
That's the thing. But he said this is how it went down, and in the end, he declined most of it because he was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I went here. I had to book a booth. I have to book a hotel. I have to, travel here. I have to be here all the time. So I'm working. There's like a lot of things that I could do in the meantime that I can't do because I have to be here and I have to present my products to a broader audience. So I'm not able to give you like whatever you asked me to make a video here at my booth. So no. I can only guess what the deal with those YouTubers was. They probably offered them, we pay for your hotel, or we partially pay for your travel expenses, or maybe they did it like the last year where they said, YouTubers are getting the free hotel and food, so they don't have that many expenses. And apparently they told them, go around and offer your services to everyone at the booth and negotiate with them directly. Apparently, that's just my guess. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's wrong just because the event is a free event. It's an expo. You go there with a camera and a microphone. You understand that your point is to interview some of the people at those booths, make some free content. You put it up there. People are going to be searching for Guitar Summit. They might be searching for whatever company that they're interested in. And for you, it's no water off your back. You just went there, talked to a bunch of people, got some business cards, gave yours out. It's a way to, build up a maybe a new relation with new companies.
Yeah,
That's
but they want to
the point.
Yes, but they want to be paid for their work. They want to be paid for, they're recording the video, but then back home they have to edit it, and they want to get paid to do exactly that. And but the issue is that depending on what kind of channel size we're talking about, obviously they're going to tell you, hey, I can make a video here at your booth, and it's going to cost you 2,000 euros because I have 500,000 subscribers. And he told me a couple of examples where people are just bonkers, where like this guy barely had like 10K subscribers and he wanted like $500 for a video. And I'm like, that doesn't sound right to me, in relation. So I think this whole YouTuber thing, gear YouTube thing, has grown a bit out of proportion to me. They're like, apparently they're looking or maybe communicating with other YouTubers and look like, okay, what are you charging for a video? How many subscribers do you have? And they look like this guy has like 100,000. He charges X amount. And then he's like, oh, I have 10,000. So I can charge 1/10 of that, essentially. And that's how it seems to work. And I don't think, not only does it guarantee anything for the company as far as like return on investment, it's also it's a bit cheap, to approach it this way.
Here's a thought.
I'm not sure.
No. Look, I have a thought, and if there's any companies or YouTubers out there that are listening and just want to rip off this idea, take it and have fun. Here's the concept. You reach a company that you like, and you say, hey, for Guitar Summit, I can be your media guy. I can be the person taking pictures of your gear. I can be the person interviewing you, or I'm just going to be the person behind the camera. You show the different products. If you have some giveaways, we can run that. You can sponsor my channel. So that way, like the whole time, the 3-day guitar event over at Guitar Summit, I have free reign to go walk around and see the companies, but I'm going to focus on you. And, this is going to be a partnership between us. If companies want to do that, like, let's say, I don't know, you book a guy like Andy Ferris and you have him for an entire day and you sponsor his channel. So on his channel, his audience gets to see the live streams and all this stuff. They get to learn about this company. Then when Andy's done, he goes and walks around, films his content, does his stuff. But he could be sponsored by a company. That way the company gets more exposure and they have someone doing proper content for them. So when all the weasels come around and start asking for $500, they're like, I don't need you because I'm sponsoring this one dude. So then that might change the mindset of YouTubers. Instead of being like, you need me, they might be like, hey, you know what Andy was doing last year? I can do that for you too. Then maybe they're making more money. It makes more sense. It's just a thought, right? I'm sure someone could refine that, make it into a better idea. The concept is that we need each other. The companies need us. We need them. If we can find a way to work that in, I'm sure that it would be way more beneficial for the companies and for these events to keep getting more exposure, because that's really how you get the word out for companies. It's the YouTubers talking about it. It's the forums piggybacking off of this, Facebook groups, etc. So I'm sure we can all come up with really fantastic ideas where everyone thrives. And the current model, as you just talked about, just doesn't make any sense. It's not viable. We can't be charging an arm and a leg for a small company for doing stuff that is like covering Guitar Summit. Like, do you go to NAMM and charge everybody at NAMM? people at NAMM are going to tell you to go fuck yourself. They're going to be like, you're out of your mind. You know how many people have been coming here and just making content for free for years? And you want me to pay you? That wouldn't work. So why do it at Guitar Summit? Same kind of event.
Yeah, that's the thing. I still would really like to talk to someone from Guitar Summit, and just to know how they organized it and how they intend to organize it for the next events. I mean, they just, renewed their contract with the event location for like another 3 years or something. I'm not sure. So the event's going to take place anyways.
I'm going to ask you a question, Frank. If, let's say, our initial video on Guitar Summit, let's say we were too hard, and the folks at Guitar Summit saw it, and they were like, oh, these guys are just throwing us under the bus. Is this the narrative that we would keep going with if we invited them, or would we have an honest discussion? Like, we could talk about like some of the stuff we heard, some of the stuff we've seen, but still give them an opportunity to give their side of the story. Would we be transparent if we had someone from Guitar Summit, or would we have like these sneaky questions where we would like go, haha, got you?
No. And also I would like to repeat and use this opportunity answering your question and to kind of repeat what actually happened last year, because I was walking around this event with 3 different hats. I had my own booth with FFX. I shared the booth with Jupiter Effects and Codex Audio. So that was one thing that I had to do. I had a couple of things that I needed to do for Reverb, and I also was hired by Guitar Summit to conduct interviews with artists at this stage. That, when you remember, you've seen 1 or 2 of these interviews. So I was walking around there, and the podcast episode where we talked with Remco, and he explained his experience and that it wasn't very fulfilling, like traveling there, paying a lot of money, and then like getting no attention at all, because his placement was obviously very off and in a place where there wasn't much traffic, and maybe it wasn't the right sort of people going there. And then me saying that, Remco, I get it, because for me, as the company FFX Pedals, the event didn't give me anything. There was no return on investment. It's not like, I got orders afterwards. I didn't grow my business going there. That's the only thing I said. And then afterwards, I had discussions with them where I was told, well, how is it possible that like the face of Guitar Summit, because you're like more the face of Guitar Summit than everybody else here, criticizes the very same event? So apparently you didn't get the point of what I said.
No,
and 100%. I'm sure I'm not alone, but I was one of the ones that spoke out. And that's probably the reason they didn't hire me again.
It could be.
That's okay. And I some while ago I asked if it's still a topic. They said no, it's not a topic anymore. But yeah.
But
just how it is.
The criticism that we had of them not having enough YouTuber seems to have really echoed well, because the following year now they had more YouTubers. Right? They're never going to be perfect. They're never going to be, the kind of event that no one criticizes, because criticism is just part of any business, right? People are going to complain. People are going to say, "Oh man, this event was amazing." Some people are going to say, meh. Like, you can't control that. But at the same time, the criticism that we both brought and that Remco brought, I think, were healthy things. Like, we weren't telling them like it was the worst thing ever, don't go. We never said that.
No.
So if they're willing to have the criticism and accept that we're not bashing them. We're just saying they could improve. And if they do improve, then that means the criticism was valid. And if they're willing to have a talk with us, sure. I'm willing to talk to anybody.
They changed the booth setup. So they occupied more places and everything was way more mixed. So apparently we weren't the only ones mentioning that it would have been better, to place certain companies in different spots in order to have a more even distribution of, known brands with unknown brands. Because this year, when I went there, and I just was there for 1.5 days, I didn't have that much time. I was looking at things and it's like, yeah, okay, there's the smaller guy. Oh, there's the bigger company. So apparently they have adapted well. That was the only thing that I really wanted to, talk about with them, inviting them to the podcast and saying, hey, this is where you started. This is how it developed, and we had COVID, and now you are there, and you had the most people attending the event ever this year. Mm-hmm. Like the Saturday was like the heaviest packed day ever. So, I just wanted to, look a little bit at the history of the event, which has been going on for 7 years now, and what's up in the future. Are you planning to make this even bigger? How are you going to do it? That's the only thing I wanted. But it is what it is.
If one of them wants to come on, we'll be glad to talk to them. And it's not one of those entrapment and we're just going to put them on the spot. Oh, sure. We might ask a couple of questions that maybe is uncomfortable, but hey, it's par for the course, man.
My intention is not to embarrass. My intention is not to embarrass anyone.
Nope.
Not my intention at all. I'd like to have a good time. I like to talk about industry related things, and that is Europe's biggest industry event. I mean, guitar related, obviously. Yeah. There are other events that are more specialized now when it comes to electronic stuff and whatnot. And NAMM is sort of the still overall international sort of giant, although it's getting smaller as well. But yeah.
On that note, I might go next year to Guitar Summit. I might buy my ticket and rent my own hotel room, the whole thing. I might go. I'm tempted because I really enjoyed the first time, and I have this new strategy for how I want to do stuff if I do go again. So maybe next year I'm going to do a recap on my going there, and maybe if you're there too, maybe we can make a podcast, but in a hotel room.
Yeah.
Why not?
Recap every day.
Exactly.
Awesome. Yeah, we've already passed the hour again. It's like an hour 22. Heavy.
We can't do it. We just can't do it.
No, we can't do it. It's impossible. It's impossible. I'm gonna start cutting things into smaller chunks again for, everybody who has less time at their hands.
Yeah. We'll start doing that again for sure.
We want to know from you, guys. It doesn't matter if you're watching the podcast on YouTube or on whatever platform where interaction is possible. Let us know in the comments how you see the whole YouTuber thing. If you are following YouTubers, like gear-related YouTubers, if you are actually influenced by the content they create, if you ever made a purchase decision based on a YouTube video, how that purchase decision, turned out to be, in some cases it turns out to be like, oh, I'm going to keep this thing, or it's like, my own experience was very different. So yeah, let us know. Let us know if gear YouTube is an essential part of your life or not. And as always, consider subscribing, because 80% of the people who watch this podcast, they're not subscribed. Did you know?
And give this video a thumbs up.
Statistics show that. But seriously, subscribing is free. Doesn't cost you a thing. Hit the bell icon also helps. And leave a comment, leave a like. And until the next episode, which is going to air next week, we salute you and say, have a great weekend.
Cheers.
Cheers.